Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us.
Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast. I'm Jules.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends.
Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients.
We're going to bring those questions here, and together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions.
This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We'd also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question. Today's question, I love this question so much. All right, today's question is, why does my partner criticize my parenting and constantly correct me?
Oof, this hurts. It can feel, I'm just
It
like
hurts,
with the color.
and like I think almost every couple, every parenting couple, but
Yeah.
probably every couple, you could take out the word parenting and put some other thing in there, right? I think
Cleaning,
right, whatever the
money,
thing is. Everybody knows this.
sex, just, yeah. And as I'm with this question, the first piece that comes up is just, I've seen it so many times in couples I'm with, in my own relationship, where it can feel really undermining or can feel like super disrespectful to someone. I'm not saying it is undermining, and I'm not saying it is disrespectful. I want to be really clear about that, but I'm talking about that on the receiving end. And it may be those things too. I'm not saying it's not either, but I'm just really with, oof, this question has a lot of pain in it, and I hear you. And of course, this is an issue that is absolutely worth bringing up and dealing with.
Yeah.
And I think the why in this question is actually a really important point, because I think the why is where you're going to go to find how to solve it.
So like, why does my partner criticize my parenting and constantly correct me? The why being like, what's happening underneath that there is that criticism and correction? It's almost like, what have we not agreed upon?
That's my guess. My guess is the why is you do not have an agreement about your parenting. Not really. And I don't know why that's happening. Is it happening because we're not talking about it? Are there expectations that are going unspoken here?
Sometimes we also I know I've done this in my relationship. It's probably happened in both directions in my relationship, but I'll be the one to take the responsibility right now. Where I have a very strong feeling about something. This is the way that I think we should do it. I've done some research. This is what I think. And so I'm just going to tell you what I think. And there's not really a conversation. There's not really a space for my partner to do his own thinking and even just come to a place. It's like, oh, well, that's what we're doing. Okay, so I agreed to that. I didn't really know what I was agreeing to or have a full sense of it. I hadn't digested it as much as you had if we had talked about it, right? And so like, are we both actually consenting and agreeing to the same thing? Or is there a little bit of like even a bypassing of we're just not having conversation?
That's what I was wondering too. Are the conversations effective and on target and all of that, or are the conversations not even happening at all?
Right. Which is so easy for like, there are so many conversations that don't happen in my house.
Oh my gosh, totally. You are not alone if that is what's happening. And when I think about parenting, I think about how much we're adding on. A lot of times we have 2 working parents. Yeah. Oh my gosh, childcare is this enormous add-on. Plus your kids got activities. Plus each one of you has your own histories and thoughts about what parenting is. And maybe we haven't taken the time. And these are long conversations. They're not one-time conversations.
But they're
there's
big
been a change.
Deal conversations, right? Like
they're huge deal conversations.
So like you have a new child, like a newborn baby is born, right? First big interruption in this couple's life. And we need to figure out how do we sleep and carry on and take care of this human.
Right.
Right. So, totally. Off the top of like one of the first things that every couple has to deal with when they have a child is sleeping arrangements.
Yep.
And there's a lot of different thoughts. And I'm not saying that any one of these is right or wrong. There's a lot of different ways of doing sleep with.
There's a ton of safety in lots of different ways of doing sleep.
Yeah.
Great.
And
this is such a good example though. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we bring different meanings.
I want the baby happening.
Yeah. I want the baby next to me in a bassinet. No, I want the baby in the bed. No, I want the baby down the hall. I'm worried about our coupleship if we have the baby in the room. But I'm worried about the baby if we don't have the baby in the room. Oh.
So there's so many different layers. And then there's things that like you can't even decide on before because you don't know the baby's temperament. And like, right? Like how do you respond to like, what if people get sick? Or what if recovery postpartum is really hard? Or what are our work schedules, right? Like there's so many unknown factors that we can't plan for. So,
or did you plan for it and the baby's temperament is different?
Totally.
And now you need to have a conversation about how things are going to change.
Right.
Yep. And as you learn your kid, because your kid is going to be growing and changing. So maybe the needs that were being met early can't be met in the same way. We need to make a shift, but we've never had the conversation.
And if we've never had the conversation, we might both be functioning out of this place. Well, this is what it was like when I grew up. And we had different ways of growing up.
Right.
And so now there are all these expectations that are unspoken and then being reacted to as a disappointment or a failing. I'm putting that in quotes. I have air quotes up right now. When in fact, what's going on, if we really, really slow it down, is, there are unnamed expectations happening. And we may not actually have some agreements that feel solid for both of us about what does parenting look like in our home. And I think that's your solution too, is to have these hard conversations.
And if you need help having those hard conversations, we have a workshop coming up in September of 2 different weekends. And check out our website for all the information. But we're going to cover the hard conversations. We're going to cover boundaries. We're going to cover repairs. So check it out and join us there. It's live on Zoom.
Yeah. You're going to really be wanting to look at what brain states you're both in order to have this kind of conversation. Because this one can get rocky and it has so many meanings. I really encourage you to slow down and really look at what are old needs, longings, meanings that are being met when you want to parent your way. And what are those things? What is being met in your partner? And having that be more explicit can be really, really helpful when it comes to these parenting conversations.
I think it's so hard when I'll speak for me and Gabe. I think this is most people, but when both parties firmly believe they're right for different reasons, and then that's the agenda that we come up with is, well, I know I'm right, so how do I prove my point to you?
Yeah.
But the other person's in the exact same frame of mind of like, well, no, I'm right. How do I prove this to you?
Yeah.
Which is a brain state. And how do I get to the brain state where I'm trying to connect with you instead and work together and not just prove my point?
Right. Because a lot of times we're basically in these conversations going, I'm going to get you to do it my way.
Well, because my way's right.
rather than we are a partnership working out the problem of how do we parent together?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard.
It is so hard.
Well, it is and it isn't. Hard. Like I think part of the hard is where we get stuck inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The hard is not actually the how we navigate it together. That actually like undoes aloneness. We're in this together. I don't have to hold it all. I don't, like it's not going to be such a failing if I'm not right about it. We can adjust and adapt together and we can figure this out. And so like, that's not actually the hard part. The hard part is like, I'm stuck at this place inside myself where I have to be right. And there's some meaning that I'm giving to that. That's the hard part.
The hard part for me with parenting is that I don't think I know the right way. I don't. But the hard part for me is that I think there is a right way.
Oof.
And it's so hard because my struggle is to figure out what that right way is.
Yeah.
And so that's a different topic. But I hear what you're saying about like, it's not hard. The conversation, the togetherness of it is not the hard part. It's the why can't either of us figure out what the right path is?
Well, and I think what you're naming, what you're naming here is the piece about like, this is where I get stuck on thinking that there is a right way.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so like that's the sticky spot right there. And then I don't know what Gabe's sticky spot is, right? I don't know how he may or may not clash with you there. And I don't want to make it about that, but.
Oh, no, I brought it up.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah. But there's a sticky spot there where there's not a collaboration happening. There's that stickiness. So like if we're talking about communicating, for me, that's the place to pause. It's like, oh, there's something right there that's kind of getting in the way of this. It's getting in the way of this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. What is that that's getting in the way? Can we talk about that?
Yeah. And this brings us into this communication question. We're doing this entire season on communication.
Right.
And this brings me to a larger communication question that I think can support everybody when it comes to your communication dilemmas.
What's this communication question?
This communication question is, what state of mind are you in? Because I think a lot of times when we're in a space of saying, I'm having a communication issue, I want us all to U-turn and really ask yourself, well, what kind of communication are you trying to achieve? Are you doing an information share? Are you trying to get someone to do something your way? Are you wanting to have a mutual discussion? Are you in a state of mind that's interested in collaboration with your partner? Do you have curiosity? Are you interested in their view of things too? What are their worries about how this is if we do it this way, what's our hope? If we do it this way, what's our worry about the potential negative impact, right? Those questions work really well when you're in a collaborating state of mind. And a lot of times when we're in a communication with our partner, that is actually not the state of mind we're in. We're not in a listening space.
No.
We're not in a sharing to connect space. We're in a I'm going to tell you some information now space.
Right. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about all the times when I'm like cooking dinner. And James is really good in the kitchen. Like he's really, really good in the kitchen. And I bumble my way through. And I can make decent meals, but I'm bumbling and I don't time things well. And if he comes in when I'm trying to bumble my way through and tells me how to do something, I have a hard time hearing it. But if he sits me down after the meal and he says, can I offer you some feedback about what I saw? I have an easier time hearing it. It's about my state of mind. When I'm bumbling my way through, there's too many things that I'm holding. I can't hear anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think enough is spoken in the world, other than us. I'm going to give us some props, but on how there are some brain states where a connecting, productive conversation with our partner is literally not going to happen.
Physiologically impossible.
It can't.
And that doesn't mean
say
anything's
that
wrong with you.
Enough. No,
It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you or your partner.
There is nothing wrong with you.
Right.
There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your partner. There are physiological states that do not support what you are hoping to achieve. And so knowing what those are, your tells inside, is so important, because then you can know, oh, am I available for this conversation? And I don't want to drop something you got to, Rebecca, because I think that metaphor was really, really good. One of the agreements that we may make inside of these larger meta conversations is, if there's a parenting dilemma, we don't bring it up at the time. Because when I'm bumbling my way through, hearing your advice or criticism about how I'm doing it wrong is not something I can take in. And in fact, it's probably going to create whatever the situation is that you think is going wrong is probably about to make it worse. And we really want to collaborate on this. So can we create a space where, yes, we have that discussion, but not inside that moment unless something deeply dangerous were going on. And that's probably not what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, really, truly like that. I can't think of how many times, my kids are teenagers now, but how many nights one or the other one of us was trying to soothe them in the middle of the night and really stressed out. You know, we had some high needs babies way back in the day, right? And then the other one would come over, not being able to sleep, and go, oh, but you know, you should do it like this.
Oh,
we just both felt like failures all the time. And so when we felt like failures, we just tried to say, oh, well, this is what you should be doing. If you were doing this, it would work. Right? Like, I know the answer because you're the one doing the thing that's failing. So I know the answer. Right? But then when I don't know how to do it, you know, it's like, well, it goes back and forth. But that's what we do when we're in these not so integrated brain states.
Yeah.
Because what tired, exhausted, overworked parent isn't an integrated brain state? They're not.
Right.
We need to make time.
Did you know that you can yell in a whisper?
Oh, yes, you can.
You can also yell totally silently.
I am good at it. It was, I think Michael was like 6 months old, and he was in our bedroom, and at like 2 a.m, and I bring this up because again, not the time to do it, but I could not sleep well with him in the room, and Gabe did not want him out of the room. And at 2 a.m, I whispered to Gabe, I want him out of the room. That's not the time to bring up that conversation.
That is not the moment.
It's such a cute example of like exactly what we teach also though in the integrating mind and art workshop, right? Yeah. Like all of this stuff that we're talking about, these are like, we're teaching the skills of, here's how you watch your brain states. Here's the stuff you need to know about all of this. Here's how you take care of yourself as you move through these pieces so that you're not just dumping stuff off on your partner, and that you're actually doing the U-turn and looking at yourself. And then here's how you have the meta conversation. This is that big conversation that you're not having in the heat of the moment, but you're having at another time where you're in a more integrated brain state. This is how you have those conversations. That's what the workshop is.
Where you make your agreements.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So making an agreement and really probably having a series of conversations. If you're listening to this, you're thinking to yourself, I could have written this question. This is a series of conversations. This is not easy stuff. It's going to change as your kids grow. We're with you.
Day by day.
We send you love. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your partner. You can do this. And we're here to support, and just sending so much kindness to you as we invite you and encourage you to have a series of conversations where you get really clear about what you do and don't agree on, and where you find those rubs. Can you start collaborating and find your way together?
And I want to just encourage our folks to not think of these conversations as like, and then they're done.
Yeah.
Because it's the series where it's like, oh, and then I observed this and here's what I learned next. And let's integrate this information together too. Yeah. All right. Take care, y'all. We'll be back next week for another episode in this communication season.
We're in a whole season.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner? We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio, and that you'll follow the show. To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions Your questions are relational gold. Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here are some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Hoberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker, our audio intern, Cole Rickman, and to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please subscribe, rate, and especially please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Thanks so much for listening to Why Does My Partner? Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.